Hello. So for week 7, um, our first prompt is to discuss the elements that have been associated with increasing the probability of a student experiencing a successful transition. So I teach first grade, and I most of my transitions are from one activity to another. So if I'm doing carpet time and I want the students to start rewriting their spelling words, I will get their attention, and then I'll count down from 5, and then I will pick a quiet friend, and then usually like they want to get picked first. So they'll catch a quiet bubble, I call it, and they will raise a quiet hand, and I will pick the quietest friend to get a list, a blank paper, and then I'll prompt them to go get something to write with. And then they will go back to their seats and they will start rewriting their spelling words. So usually this goes pretty smooth if we're talking about these types of transitions. Some of them go very smooth, some of them are rough. And I'm still learning how to have successful transitions, and what factors go into successful transitions. As far as having students go from preschool to kindergarten or whatnot, since I teach first grade, a lot of my students, you know, um, the transition can be rough from kindergarten to first grade. I have a lot of students who still, don't know how to write their name. They struggle with letter formation still in first grade. And so it's like really about filling those gaps per se, and providing the students appropriate interventions to fill those gaps. You know, and as far as planning to implement transition, successful transition, and the goals, would be to provide the students with appropriate interventions, to meet those gaps and, meet students where they are and see where they are in their, their development and their level of knowledge on certain standards from going from kindergarten to first grade and filling in those gaps. So those types of transitions really are what I've had the most experience with as a first grade teacher. The transition also, one that's kind of not really talked about enough that I feel like should be, is the transition, from students being at home to coming to school. So a lot of children's routines are, in school, and, they don't get the same structure at home as they do in school. So it's about, getting the student, accustomed to a routine in the classroom, as opposed to they're coming from home. Maybe they were playing video games or they stayed up all night, and now they need to transition from, being relaxed at home to a school classroom environment to where they're asked to be on a routine and, get their work completed, do things in the order of the school day that the teacher has, things along those lines. So that's really, like I said, the most experience I've had when it comes to transitions, and the elements that have been associated with increasing the probability of a student experiencing a successful transition. So I feel like a successful transition, would be to really, implement those routines and practice them every day, and, have clear expectations on what you want students to do, and how you want them to do it. And then as far as, my other experience with a transition would be, when students come from kindergarten into my class and they're behind, there's some gaps there. and a successful, what could help with that, again, is successful interventions, and getting them appropriate assistance where it's needed to fill in those gaps and get them to where they need to be on grade level to make that, kindergarten, first grade transition a little bit more smooth. And that could be with every student in the general population as well, not just sped students. That could be with any struggling learners, slowly going from 3-digit CVC words to silent E words, or magic E as I call it. Going from those 3-letter words to those 4-letter high frequency sight words, just doing things that help the student to easily go from those really simple heart words to the more complicated first grade words. The next prompt is to share about your course experience. What was my favorite assignment and why? I really enjoyed the differentiation assignment where we had to create a PowerPoint. I enjoyed that because, I got to be creative. I got to decorate the PowerPoint how I wanted. And I really enjoy talking about differentiation. And here's why. Because I feel like in my school, I am a Title I school. My school, it's a low income school. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources as, a traditional public school would. We don't have as many resources as maybe a public school. So I feel like differentiation in those situations and, implementing Title I as much as possible is so important for the success of students. Really providing those interventions is really, really important in order to have a successful support in your classroom, and making sure that students are receiving what they need, targeting those students who are at, who maybe need extra support and who are maybe on RIMS plans, RIMP rating plans, who may need that, additional support. The Title I and differentiation can really target those kids and provide them with the interventions that they need, besides the just, iReady minutes and things along those lines. Something new that I learned that I will take with me into my classroom, overall, this course was very, very useful. It was I learned a lot from this course that I definitely will be taking into my classroom. I learned the importance of having support, believe it or not, in the classroom, because there are so many students that have so many different needs. And it's like, if it's just the classroom teacher in the classroom, that all the students, sometimes they can get missed because the classroom teacher is one person, and as much as they want to get through to every student, sometimes it can be difficult without the support of Title I, without the support of an intervention specialist, both pulling out and pushing in to the classroom. Even a reading specialist that comes in and pulls students, for interventions who are low and need the support. Even classroom aides, they can come in and do small groups, and they can take a group. The classroom teacher can take a group. There can be an independent workstation, just really, targeting those students who need it most. The support is essential. The multiple bodies of professionals and paraprofessionals are so needed in a classroom today that it's almost essential to have them in order to, be sure that interventions are being implemented with students that need them, and, the one thing that, I learned from this course that I can take with me to my job is just being sure that we have those supports at all times. It's very important. So, those were my 3 things. I definitely have learned a lot from this course. It was a pleasure being a part of this course and being able to have the opportunity to advance my career in being an educator. I commend everybody for doing this because this is not always an easy job, and it takes a special person. It really does. So thank you so much and have a good day.